You mentioned locking up with Undertaker early on in your career. I'm curious if you remember the first time you met him and really what that aura was like walking into WWE meeting Undertaker.
Oh, I don't remember the very first time. I
Okay.
don't. What I can tell you though is that something that I experienced in my career that not everybody seems to experience is that Sabu and the Sheik kind of beat the fan out of me. Um, the very first time that I was allowed in an actual dressing room was in Euclid, Ohio in 1980, 1990, actually. And I hadn't had my first match yet. I was training with them, but Sheik was wrestling Jerry Lawler. Sabu had a match. Medusa was there. Very big night in my life being there as a wrestler, right? Sabu said, if you come in the dressing room, if you're going to be in there, you're a wrestler. You're not a fan. You understand that? He said, you can't be both. He said, you don't ask anyone for their autograph. This was before everyone had the camera phones,
Yeah.
no autographs. And he said, don't talk to anybody unless you're going to introduce yourself. Then you just shake their hand, look them in the eye, tell them your name, and don't say anything else unless they talk to you. And don't even do anything unless they talk to you first. And I was like, okay, okay. And Sheik, made sure I understood. And I feel like throughout my whole career that kept my mind in a certain frame where so some things could have passed me by where I didn't stop and smell the roses,
Mhm.
because it was just business for the most part for me, all business, business, business. And like Sabu used to say when I started out, if somebody owes you money and they want to give you a championship belt instead of paying you more, and you have a choice, take them more money. You can't eat a belt. That's
Wait,
yeah,
so yeah.
that's the way that I was trained, and it's so different now because when I'm in a locker room, it seems like all the wrestlers that are there want to get a picture of me, and I don't say, no, you can't do that. You're one of the boys, because I understand that it's changed. But when you think about what a different perspective my mind was in always throughout my whole career, it helps explain some of the choices that I made.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and it probably helped you, I'm sure, excel in a more maybe a mature way or something like that, like having those blinders on and just maybe focusing on success. Um, well, you did have some awesome matches with The Undertaker. Maybe you don't remember meeting him at first, but how'd you enjoy being in there with him?
Oh, it was awesome because he's a veteran, and I had been wrestling I was a veteran as well, even back then, like in 2001, I was already wrestling for 11, 12 years. When I wrestled The Undertaker, we wrestled a lot on the road at house shows and steel cages. And one thing that sticks out in my mind is that I wouldn't even have to even see him before the match. You know, a lot of people when they interview, they want to ask, about like how much of it is scripted, and and I mean, I get the curiosity, but it's people who really believe that it's so scripted. They make their way into the business and then make it so scripted, thinking they're working in front of a crowd that thinks just like they did that it's just scripted. And that is what happens to a lot of the magic is just gone that way because it's never there to begin with. And that kind of equation. But anyway, it's relevant when they ask. And it's relevant with what you just asked, but a lot of times with Undertaker. I mean, I had a pretty good idea how the match was going to end up. He's the Undertaker, and wouldn't even have to talk, and go out there and have good matches. And that's a lost art, I believe nowadays.
Yeah. Well, one thing that goes with that is something I found out through your podcast, One of a Kind with Rob Van Dam. Another thing people should definitely check out. But you, I guess, are leading in WrestleMania victories. You are the new streak holder. I don't
Yeah.
know how many people know that, but was that the first time you heard that was on your show?
No, I've heard that for a long time. Maybe since Undertaker was beaten. I think that's when
Oh,
I started
wow.
hearing it. Which, I told you how I wasn't. how the mark was taken out of me. That moment in business in the industry when Undertaker got pinned at WrestleMania, that made me realize how many of the boys are marks. Like I had no
Mhm.
idea. I couldn't get over how many people for the next hour had their jaws dropped. The boys, watching from the press box, everyone was like, "Oh my God, oh, I can't believe it!" Like, I mean, so many people. I kept saying, "Are you being serious right now?" Because I didn't feel it. I was like, "So," you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's good that they can have that appreciation, I think. But that was so prevalent to me, what side of the wall they stood on, because I was just like, you guys know how this works, right? And everyone's just like, "Oh my God, like my whole childhood, dude, how many years you been working now, bro? Like you would have got beat up 20 years ago talking like that, Chris." And
Um,
yeah.
everyone was a kid again, I guess. That's so funny to hear that they.
Yeah, but ever since then, people started telling me that I have the record with 4-1. And then recently I heard that there's a girl, and I don't know who it is, but I heard that there's a female that has the same record as me. Don't know if it's true, but
I wish
yeah.
I knew off the top of my head. I don't. There's definitely some wrestling fans out there who have everyone's stats though ready to go. Um,
Yeah.
I don't have
Leave a
that.
comment.
Leave a comment. Yeah.
Rewind, recap, relive. For over 50 episodes, the revolutionary force in wrestling interview.